Hello again, everyone. It is author Cristy Watson here. And as promised, I am back with the third chapter for Living Rough, the book that I started about a week or two ago and have already read chapters 1 and 2 for you on video. I wanted to say a big shout out of thank you to Orca, who have put this book into the Currents series. Orca is the publisher who made this book possible. And back when I was working on this book, Melanie Jeffs was the editor. And she helped me go through all of the text and everything I had written to edit it, to clean up sentences, fix the storyline, add spice, things that makes a story more exciting, makes it a better read. Often that happens not just by ourselves, but with help from others, like an editor at a publishing house. But always make sure you edit your own work before you send it anywhere. So one of the lovely things about a publisher is that I get someone to help me work on the story. One of the other awesome things is they put the covers together. They pick and choose what will be the cover, how it will look, and in this case, my publisher, along with my editor Melanie, also helped me change the title. They had a book that had just come out with my title that I previously had, which was In the Clear, and so we had to redo it, come up with a new title. And I'm so glad we did, because this word you will find once you know what Edgar has been keeping from his friends and from school. When you find out what's happened for he and his dad, this term will make sense to you. But I'm not going to share it just yet because chapter 3 hasn't told us what that secret is that Edgar's been keeping from others. So those are important things that a publisher does. I'm also going to share a little bit at the end of this video, again, about the writing process, things that go into writing a book. And so do please stick around after I finish reading for a couple of tips for writing books. All right, so without further ado, we are going to move on to chapter 3. Now, in case you've forgotten, at the end of chapter 2, they were in social studies class, and it almost seemed like Mr. Brock or the students knew Edgar's secret. So here's chapter 3. Mr. Brock asked us to turn to page 72. He opened a newspaper on the computer and projected the image onto the screen. My palms were sweating, and the pages of my textbook stuck to my fingers. This was going to be tricky. A few kids were looking at me. Why are they staring? Do they know? Mr. Brock tapped my shoulder. I nearly jumped out of my seat. You're being paged, Edgar. One of your classmates can help you catch up when you return. Geez, I hadn't even heard the announcement. I'm glad I didn't blurt anything out. As I moved down the hall, I wondered who I needed to thank for the getaway. For a moment, I considered returning to class to grab my books. Then I could bail on socials. But I figured Mr. Brock would wonder why I was back so quickly. So I headed toward the office, where I found Ina waiting for me. What's wrong? I asked. Go home. I go home. You have to go home, but school isn't over. Her parents are here. They have to sign some paperwork and Ina needs to be with them. The secretary pointed to the door leading outside. I could see a silver Buick waiting with its engine running. I tell you I go home. Thank you for today. Ina smiled. Her eyes danced like they were smiling too. I couldn't believe what I was thinking. Eyes dancing. Where did that come from? But her eyes had this warmth that drew you into them. It was almost hypnotic. Can I see you tomorrow? I mean, can I help you tomorrow? Tomorrow? I here? Meet here? She asked. Yes, I will be here tomorrow. Good luck, I said as she turned toward the door. I let out the breath I'd been holding as I watched her car pull away from the school. Mrs. Norris looked at me strangely. I realized my mouth was hanging open. My insides felt strange. I couldn't get the image of Ina's smile out of my mind. I never bothered much with girls. Most of them were too busy with gossip to notice anyone but their little groupies, and the rest were so preoccupied with how they looked that I wouldn't be included in their busy schedule of self-adoration anyway. So why this girl? Mr. Reed, Mr. Johnson, I answered as I turned to face his 6 feet of principalship. Thank you for helping our new student today. I understand you were called down to speak with her again. Yeah, yes. She was picked up by her parents and wanted to let me know. So I wouldn't wait at her class. Well, your help has been noted. I also wanted to make sure you're aware that if you ever need to talk with someone, well, Mrs. Bailey is always available. Thanks. I love how he slipped out of actually helping me. As principals go, he's not that bad. He was pretty cool earlier, but when it came to what a student was struggling with, well, he left that to the counselors. You check in with Mrs. Bailey, okay? He moved off in the direction of the gym, where I could hear a scuffle in the hallway. I wasn't worried that Mr. J knew what was really going on. He wasn't too good at noticing the signs. His comments were probably about the bullying he saw today. But still, I needed to take some extra precautions. All right, hope you enjoyed that short chapter. And I'm going to actually talk about writing by finishing something about the sentence I just said, which is short. These are very short books. In fact, they're only 16,000 words. And you can see that they're, fairly large print in the book. So telling a full story in only 16,000 pages can be tricky. So that chapter had a fair bit of dialogue, a fair bit of time when the characters were interacting with each other and talking. So one of the things I learned as I wrote this book and the other 3 that are in the current series, because they're only 16,000 words, I learned to make every word count. So things like dialogue become very important because they end up having to do 2 very important things. One, the dialogue has to tell us something about the character, help you as the reader identify with the person talking, learn more about their character, learn more about what is important to them and what makes them tick. The second thing that dialogue does in these short books is it actually helps to move the plot forward. It helps to tell the story, to give you more information about what's happening to the characters. And so when you think about the chapter I just read, did the dialogue between Ina and Poe, Edgar, help to move the story forward? Did it give us ideas of what might be coming next? Did it help us understand how their relationship is developing and whether it's becoming a friendship? Did it also tell us something about Edgar's character or something about Ina's character? The fact that she didn't just leave school, she chose to have Edgar called down to the office so she could tell him she was leaving. Because had she not done that, Edgar would have waited for her at the end of the day and wondered where she was. So she was being thoughtful and considerate, which gives us an idea of her character, but also tells us a bit about the developing friendship she has with Edgar. All right, so as you move forward in your stories, think about dialogue. Think about how important it is to help us get to know your characters better and to help move your story forward. Good luck with all your writing endeavors and anything you're doing creatively over the next while. And I hope to be back soon with another installment, maybe a chapter reading of either Benched or On Cue. Until then, stay safe, healthy, and strong. Cristy Watson, signing off.